All right, let's take a look at this question. So this question is kind of dealing with comparing different sets of quantitative data. So in this case, we're looking at dot plots. We are looking at sugar content on cereal, in cereal on shelves at the store. So for part A, what we're dealing with is the variability. So we kind of want to look at kind of how spread out each dot plot is and talk about that. So it's asking, do they have similar or different variability. So in this case, we'll kind of just stick with the range for now in terms of describing our variability. So from the min to the max, how spread out is it? So keeping in mind, they are asking for similar and different. So that's kind of another way to phrase compare the things. So when we look at each shelf, they all start at 0. And it appears the bottom one does have a slightly larger variability. The bottom one and the second one both go up to 15, whereas the third one stops at 14. So we just want to make sure we're accurately saying shelves 1 and 2 have a greater range slightly at 15. Than that of shelf 3, which is 14. So keeping in mind, I've underlined the content here, so content specifics and the words less than, so you want to make sure you have all that. If you don't have all that, you will not get full credit on the AP exam, and I will dock you on your quiz, which would be sad. So we're talking about sugar content in the cereal, and we're using grams per serving. So when in doubt, just always steal their words. So I went up to the graph, and I looked at, all right, grams per serving, grams per serving. And then I explained shelf 3 is less than, the variability is less than that of 1 and 2. So making sure you use that less than, greater than verbiage, depending on how you phrase things. Now for part B, they're saying critics claim that supermarkets are obviously putting sugary cereal at kids' eye level. So what we want to think about is, well, what can we use to justify this? So all we've really talked about so far is stocks and just being able to describe various distributions. So we just want to think about that. So we already talked about variability a little bit. So in this case, the variability is pretty similar for most of these. But if we look, generally the shapes are a bit different. And the centers of these distributions are a bit different. So if I'm looking at the first shelf, the center, I could count all the dots and then count kind of to the middle dot, I would be in here. So this dot plot tends to center lower for shelf 1 than, whereas less than shelf 2, where you can see a lot. The middle dot, if I counted, it was going to be somewhere in here to get to that middle dot. So the center here in shelf 2 is significantly higher at about 10-ish, 11-ish grams per serving, which is at eye level. And there's our justification. So here's our answer for part B, just describing that difference. I'm making sure you use the words greater than for the sugar content in shelf 2 than shelf 1. So that would help us justify just using the idea of where the center is in the distribution to say that, yes, in fact, the grocery store is putting cereal, sugary cereal at eye level for kids.